Hey, guys, how are you enjoying the conference so far?
Man, Eli, I gotta say, I am impressed you did all of this just to be thematic with our episode on the history of condoms.
Yeah, it's really great, Eli. At first I was pretty skeptical of coming, but it's really blown my mind.
Yeah, the Global Conference on Ejaculate and Penile Emissions is a really can't-miss event. Fun fact, this is also organized by Michael Marshall.
No way, really?
Huh. Yeah, apparently he's just like a huge fan of cum.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that tracks.
Wow.
Loves cum. Loves it.
It's been, he's ejaculator of the year. Well, it's been amazing. And the swag bag, unreal.
Right? You can fit so much stuff just in the tip of it. What session were you in, Noah?
Oh, I was at the round table on the history of odd semen. Spent a lot of time talking about the curse of Mino and the ejaculating scorpions and stuff. But it was really interesting stuff. What about you?
Oh, I was a whole lecture on improving semen taste. We ate so much pineapple. Eli, where have you been?
Oh, I wanted to get my copy of White Christmas signed by that elf who comes eggnog.
Oh, get out of here. Is he a nice person in real life? I feel like he's a nice person.
He smells like nutmeg, I'll tell you that.
Makes
sense.
Meg. I see what you did there.
So, what's on the docket for this afternoon?
I don't think he did that on purpose.
Well, I was going to go to a breakout session on the history of condoms. I mean, thematic and all, so.
I'm looking at this one. Cold water removing the toughest stains.
Oh, cool. You know what? I might actually just catch a nap so I can go to the last session fresh,
Yeah, I do not want to miss that one.
Wait, which one is that?
Okay, so it's a talk by the guy who ejaculates all the tapioca balls for bubble tea.
I knew that's what it was. I knew it.
Yeah, dude has a dick like a shotgun barrel. Blah!
I love bubble tea.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, a podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Heath. I'll be hosting this panel discussion about adorable little penis bags. Speaking of which, I'm joined by four men who would totally fill up a Magnum together if they combine it all up.
All right.
Noah,
Yikes.
Cecil, Tom, and Eli.
I said I could fill it, never said what I'd fill it with, Heath. Water counts.
In the 1700s, rapier duelists would carry two swords in the same sheath, and this is nothing like that. Literally nothing like that.
Guys, when I agreed to a day of team building exercises, this is not what I thought I was agreeing to. Not at all.
That's
Yeah.
not the same as saying you're disappointed, though.
Trust falls are different. Yep.
And I don't wear condoms under any conditions. So, I mean, I get it was a setup.
All right,
so-
Cecil. What person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event are we going to be talking about today?
Condoms, Heath. Condoms.
Okay, so what is a condom? Where do we start there, buddy?
The history of condoms is pretty fascinating and starts pre-Etruscan. Throughout most of history, humans have had some way to control birth. Women would drink concoctions or tinctures with varying degrees of success to terminate a fetus. They would also exercise or use hot water or even hot coconut shells to perform abortions.
What?
Okay. That sentence makes me realize how little I understand about how babies are made.
Is that like
Actually.
shitting in Demolition
Sure.
Man?
What that?
It's like
Got
a
a lot of reading to
scooping
do.
emotion. I'm not sure. I have no idea.
Coconut.
Do you Quenelle the what? Yeah, I don't. That's
It
confusing.
gives Monty Python a very threatening
Yeah,
air.
it really does.
the dead parrot sketch with a fetus is different.
The common ways to avoid pregnancy altogether were through coitus interruptus, which again had varying degrees of success, or the ever popular anal intercourse. These methods were used because the problem of getting pregnant in the old-timey times fell squarely on the shoulders of women. So methods
Lots of stuff
involving
fell
male
squarely on the shoulders. Right, control.
I like the past tense nature of
Yeah,
this.
so I know. Pretending that we're in the future here. So
I do all the time,
methods
buddy.
involving male responsibility weren't really explored.
Hey, yeah, forget fire. Weaseling your way into anal via birth control is man's first great invention right there.
It really is. Really is.
I just love that we're talking about pre-Etruscan butt fucking, right? Like, so somewhere in the world, right? But somewhere in the world, there's an anthropologist who's the leading expert on historical butt fucking, and some university pays them for that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Their past technology is unparalleled. It's never been repeated since.
I'm just saying, dream high, people. Dream
amazing.
high.
CERN hard-on collider. There's something there. There's something.
No, there isn't.
There's not.
The wiki
Keep going.
says.
Work it out. You got it. You got it. Give him a second.
Okay, let's give him a minute.
Eli,
Hard,
you have the floor for your pun.
but curs.
Is that all we're giving him, or are we gonna?
It's not going to get better.
That's funny.
Okay.
I feel like
All right, that's funny.
No, that's good.
You know, you could drown
good.
in a puddle. It's all about how you lay.
The wiki says that for the most part, the condom was not overtly mentioned in historical writings as a birth control method, and they make a point to connect the wearing of loincloths to condoms here. They say that the loincloth was a tiny little skin that hung in front of the junk, worn by the lower classes, and since sometimes in Greece and in Egypt, people with higher classes wore one, then perhaps it was an early method of birth control, like a little cock curtain that you know what? I don't know. It just went between two people. No idea. They say that some historians suggest this and other historians doubt it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know where that disagreement between historians comes from.
Professor Watkins?
Professor Jenkins, to what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, let me begin by saying I greatly enjoyed your article on pre-modern pottery analysis this past spring. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I just had a quick question about your writing on the use of the loincloth as a prophylactic.
Yes. What about it?
I mean, you know that wouldn't work, right? Like, at all? You're aware of that, right?
I see you're skeptical, but we have many ancient calligraphies that indicate the loincloth was covering the genitals, so perhaps it was used as a kind of shield.
Right. But that's not how sex works. You can't have sex with a shield there.
You can't.
You can't. It sounded like you said it with a question mark. You cannot. You've had sex before, right?
Good sir, I am the head of my department. I am a tenured professor with no less than 2 doctorates in ancient history.
Feels like you're making it worse. So just want to be clear one more time. You have had sex before? Because the loincloth thing that you're saying, it doesn't make any sense.
No, I haven't. I was
There it
busy
is.
with my studies. Honestly, it just hasn't come up as a problem before now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, totally understand. It's not a big deal. I just, thought I'd ask because it was very confusing.
Professor Jenkins,
Yes.
how do the balls go in?
I'm actually going to go.
Sure, I understand.
They do point to the historical books for one mention of condoms. That was pretty explicit. The story is the legend of Minos. You see, Minos had a cursed ejaculate. His sperm was presumably just like everyone else's, except for, it had serpents and scorpions in it.
So is that not? Never mind. I'll talk to a doctor.
Yeah, that's a pretty big accept, you know?
Okay,
Like,
you're right.
9/11 was just like any other flight except the landing, you know? It's
Okay. Well, it landed.
Yeah, getting your luggage was a bitch. Let me tell you.
Just like every other flight, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
So when he would have sex, he would use a goat bladder as a makeshift condom to take the sting out of it. It sounds genuinely like a pretty terrifying cum shot.
Now, Cecil, there are no more or less terrifying cum shots. There are just brave or less brave recipients.
Now, it's all pretty speculative. I mean, if you're telling a story about a dick that shoots vermin out like silly string, I guess we should also not make assumptions that a makeshift condom is a reflection of reality. And as far as pre-1500s mentions, this is about it. Some historians claim that there are some veiled references to male contraception, which include, quote, suggestions to cover the penis in tar or soak it in onion juice, end quote.
What?
But when the Romans fell, so did the Trojans, evidently.
Oh, you got a headache? I literally just dipped my penis in hot tar just now. No, you got a headache. That's fine. No, it's great. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Yeah, we'll figure this out later. It's cool.
Oh, I guess I got the feathers out for nothing then, too, huh? Wasteful.
God.
Wasteful.
In Asia, they had used glans condoms, which is just covering the head of the penis. In China, some of these were made of lamb intestines, which is a pretty common material for synthetics. They were also made of oiled silk paper. No word on how effective something like that is. In Japan,
I can imagine what it would sound like, though. That would be pretty awesome. It's like my cat playing with a paper bag. Yeah.
Why does your dick smell like an old library? That's amazing.
Oh, as soon as you get to know his dick, you got to shake his shit, and you're just like, ah. It's a real thing.
What?
But bookstores, people have to poop.
Huh?
What?
Don't worry about it.
I'm sorry.
Cecil, you were talking.
Hey, Cecil.
No, we're not going past this. We're not moving
The
right past
fuck?
this. Eli, you're saying that when people go to bookstores, that has the effect of making them have to take a shit?
Yes, it's a well-documented thing that people
that's
show up
absolutely
to a
true.
bookstore and they
What?
have to poop.
Yep.
Google it.
I've been
This
to
is
many
a real
bookstores,
thing?
never shat in one.
Yeah, no, it's the thing.
Well, I've shat.
No
Just-
shit in them.
what?
You have to leave to go shit.
It
and then you have to
doesn't
come
never done
back.
that
work
either.
on you.
Eli, every single store you visit, you have to shit it. And so how do you make this?
That's
how
that's
do you
why
make
I said
this?
It's documented about other people. It's not just me.
In Japan, they have a citation that they were made out of turtle shells or animal horns. No
What?
mention on how comfortable a tiny turtle shell on the head of your dick would be. I'm guessing not too comfortable.
There's the real secret of the ooze right there. Holy shit.
Some TMT.
Natural lamb skin condoms, they are still very much available. Trojan makes them. And they're advertised, by the way, as skin on skin.
Ugh.
And I guess they are, but it's actually kind of like skin on intestine, skin on skin. That's not exactly Don Draper level copy at that point, though.
It's working for me.
Up until this point, we've been talking about condoms as contraception, but in 1494, there was an outbreak of syphilis in France, and it took about 11 years for it to reach China, and then it really took hold there. Here's a quote from Jared Diamond about the symptoms. Quote, "Its pustules often covered the body from the head to the knees, caused the flesh to fall from people's faces, and led to death within a few months," end quote. Yikes.
Yeah, yikes indeed. But there's one guy who is like, yeah, it's, flesh falling from both of our faces. This is pretty bad. We can still do ankle stuff though, right? Like, ankle stuff. Like, let me see your ankles. We can just smush them. That's fine. This is fun.
Around 50 years later, we have the first medical description of the condom in a treatise called De Morbo Gallico, which translates to the French disease. In it, the author describes a linen condom soaked in some kind of chemicals and allowed to dry. It was also a gland condom, and his claim was that out of 1,100 men that used the condom, none had contracted syphilis. Another half century later, we hear the first reference to this device used for contraception. But this time, it's the Catholic Church getting their knickers in a twist over it, condemning the condom as immoral.
Why am I not surprised that the fourth mention of condom in world history is Christians freaking out about it?
Exactly. Right.
Cecil, when I read that part of your essay, I read that as 1,100 men using the same condom and none contracting syphilis. And I'm like, that is impressive. That is really
The
something.
turtle shell must do something to the syphilis.
It's a really weird relay race we're doing here.
The condom around this time in Europe started looking like the Chinese version. I mean, they all follow a pretty basic engineering design, all that ranges in length. These were glans condoms made from animal intestines. The oldest known intestine condom was recovered from an archaeological site in England. It was found in an excavated privy that dated back to the 1640s. The Dutch brought their brands of condoms to Japan for trade. Here's a quote Quote, Dutch traders introduced condoms made from fine leather to Japan.
What?
Unlike the horn condoms used previously, these leather condoms covered the entire penis. End quote.
Well, yeah, I mean, as bad a condom material as leather might sound, keep in mind that you only have to be better than turtle shells to win the market there. So,
Fucking leather? That's a pork sword scabbard. That's what that is. How do you not pull your dick out of that thing and just yell, on guard, at least once? You gotta do it.
I'm not left-handed.
A couple of pushes here to discourage condom use. John Campbell, the second Duke of Argyll, tried through Parliament to outlaw condoms, and no reason is written in the wiki, but many at the time thought contraception was immoral. A physician named Daniel Turner also tried to dissuade condom use because they did not protect the person fully from syphilis, and, quote, belief in protection condoms offered encouraged men to engage in sex with unsafe partners. But then, because of the loss of sensation caused by condoms, these same men often neglected to actually use the devices, end quote.
Thank you. Danny T gets it. Raw dogs only. Thank you, Danny.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. I love that as far back as the garbage times, there was always a anything imperfect isn't worth trying crowd.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better
Yep.
about our future. That's good.
In the 1800s, the linen version of the condom fell out of use because it cost more to produce it and it wasn't as comfortable. At this point, condoms were made out of animal skin, which is actually part of the bladder or the intestine. And it was treated with sulfur or lye to soften it. You would buy condoms at barbershops, what they called chemist shops, open air markets, and at the theater.
It's a weird list.
Condoms were mostly used by the middle and upper classes due to cost. Quote, condoms were unaffordable for many. For a typical prostitute, a single condom might cost several months' pay, end quote.
okay, well, I'm sure there's a reason that they didn't, but it seems like more prostitutes would have gone into condom manufacture after they realized that, right?
Also seems like Moyles would be just quilting together condoms
Oh,
from
God.
baby dick parts at that point. There's a lot of money in this, right?
For much of the condom's history to this point, there were structural and engineering challenges, but once the basic idea was popularized and we moved past the animal shell helmets, we had kind of had a standardized model at that point.
Okay, but I'm having a hard time understanding the engineering challenge. By this time, we had cathedrals with flying buttresses and shit. And we're looking between our legs at a tube and like scratching our heads on this one.
Well, we were horny while we were trying to invent it.
Yeah, I think
hard to-
okay,
I think it has a lot to do with
concentrate.
why.
That explains
more
almost
than-
anything.
Yeah. Condoms were popular enough to have some contraception advocates write pamphlets on how to make them at home. I don't know. And distribute them to poor neighborhoods.
Okay, my great grandma actually did that.
No
she was
kidding.
like an activist. She got in trouble, like, or almost. She had this stuff like hidden in her walls, apparently, and they like got raided because she had like pamphlets about it and maybe some actual contraceptive devices or whatever. She was
Really?
like- yeah. She was a part of like the, I don't know, whatever color scare was for condoms at the time. Gold.
Off-white.
Yeah, beige scare, I think. Ecru? Yeah. Pearl? It would the pearl scare it would be.
There you go.
It's at this point in the story where we get past much of the can we do it and we get more into the should we do it. And as I
get it.
mentioned earlier, contraception was considered immoral and so was having sex with multiple partners. So for the rest of the story that we're going to hear, it's just about a giant list of fucking killjoys that wanted to discourage and ban condom use. Condoms would also get super popular later on. And so that's going to make this task very hard.
Hard.
Nice.
Hard.
All right. Well, it sounds like Margaret Sanger is about to erase black people from existence, and the people
Jesus.
who tried to stop her are giant killjoys, according to Cecil
I
just now.
didn't say, but I
before
didn't say
Cecil tries to explain herself,
I
we'll take a
didn't-
quick break for
I
some
didn't-
of nothing. Click.
Gentlemen, I call to order this meeting of the Birth Control Review Board, very forefront of family planning technology. So, how goes the work on the condom? Wilson, How is the fields department?
It's very good, sir. We've just come up with the ultra super duper thin his pleasure model.
Yes, but does it still feel, weird?
Well, I mean, a little, sir, but it's really very minor.
Yeah, back to the drawing board with it then. Stevens, what about transportation?
Ah, yes, sir. The condom fits in a tiny square, doesn't expire for a very long time, and can be found for free or cheap almost anywhere.
Right. But you have to, go to a place. Probably, right? Yes?
I mean, sir, you could order them.
Okay. So my only choices then are to order them or go to a place. Unacceptable. Keep working.
Yes, sir.
And finally, Wilson,
Yes.
how is that birth control pill for women coming along?
Well, sir, it requires a doctor's visit to get. Often, it's not covered by insurance. It causes side effects like, for example, blood clots, headaches, weight gain, weight loss, and cancer, literally cancer. Plus, you have to take it literally every day, and if you forget even once, you're pretty much entirely fertile right away.
Yeah, sounds perfect.
It is.
Let's put every woman on the world on it and literally never consider anything else ever again.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's do that.
Absolutely.
Very much so. And we're back. When we left off, we were talking about human skin condoms and the lotion in the basket making a lot more sense. What's next, Cecil?
Jesus.
It's at this point where the rubber meets the road. The vulcanization of rubber allowed for a new non-animal insides to be used in condom manufacturing, and condom production took off. While skin condoms were thinner and allowed for more sensitivity, rubber were reusable. That's right.
No.
Reusable
Yikes.
condoms.
Are they not? Never mind. I'll talk to my doctor about it.
First rubber condoms had to be measured and custom made. They were, again, glands condoms, just covered the head. These fell off pretty regularly, so the condom manufacturers decide to instead make a few sizes and make them extend all the way to the base. This production decision made the condoms easier to make and distribute so people could easily buy them in pharmacies. It was around this time that the common euphemism for condom became rubber. Rubber construction was not without its downsides, though. The rubber was dipped in with a glass mold, and it was in the liquid rubber. The rubber was kept liquid by adding benzene or gasoline to it. So the condom manufacturing in the time before regulation was a pretty fucking dangerous experiment here.
I don't say this lightly, Cecil, but worth it.
Okay, the dipping thing makes me feel like there's a bespoke condom. Is that a thing? Are people putting their dicks into the whatever?
Yeah, the bespoke condom would require a relationship with your tailor that I'm just not sure I'm willing to have.
Okay. I actually just checked. It is a thing.
It
There are
is a thing. It's really
the
the whole website is like, you have a mental illness. We're here to take your money.
The moral opposition to condoms never ceased. They were illegal in some places, highly regulated in others. Advertisements for condoms were even outlawed in some places. Ireland banned them outright until the 1970s. And it was not just religious moralism that dissuaded condom use. Feminists also disliked condoms because the use of the device was the responsibility of the man alone. They suggested other methods that allowed women to control contraception, such as spermicidal douches or diaphragms. Despite pushback, condoms were wildly popular. And a survey conducted from 1890 to 1900 said that 45% of women used condoms to prevent pregnancy.
Yeah. Alas, the world would have to wait for the comments section before it found an abundance of spermicidal douches. But when we found them, holy shit, did we find them?
That's such a good joke. One of the biggest impediments to condom use in the United States was the Comstock laws. Now, I'm sure this could be part of another whole episode on Anthony Comstock or on the laws themselves. But the long and the short of it is that these laws, passed in 1873, quote, criminalized any use of the U.S. Postal Service to send any of the following items: obscenity, contraceptions, abortifacients, sex toys, personal letters with any sexual content or information, or any information regarding the above items, end quote. On top of this, condom manufacturing was banned in 30 states in the U.S., and there were only 37 states in the U.S. at the time.
It's weird that they were like, except for you, Massachusetts, you keep churning out those chimneys, you beautiful savages.
That's not how the laws work. It wasn't a federal law that was like, yeah, we landed on 30 out of 37.
You heard it your way, I heard it mine.
Sure, state laws one by one.
You know, ironically, you couldn't send contraception via the post at this time, but you could, and people did. You could ship actual children via the U.S. Postal Service as late as the 19
Oh,
teens.
that needs to be a citation needed on its own. That's amazing.
You could literally just ship kids by mail.
Never heard of that. That's amazing.
Stamps
like Bugs Bunny to Timbuktu?
Did you have to put holes in the box?
I'm just picturing putting my toddler in the thing and then putting the thing down. The lady's like, no, you got to close your side, sir. And then I pull the thing and then...
The Comstock laws and lack of any sex ed led to very high STD rates in the second half of the 19th century in the U.S.
Okay, that sentence is also true for the contemporary American South. So it's just,
God damn it, that's
literally same sentence.
This, of course, was fine with religious moralizers as they saw STDs as a punishment for immoral behavior and, quote, the stigma on victims of these diseases was so great that many hospitals refused to treat people who had syphilis, end quote. Some suggested comprehensive sex ed, and this was actually the first time that sex ed was introduced to some curriculums. The article does say that they basically taught abstinence-based sex ed even back then.
Wow. Well, yeah, and like, to put all of this in perspective, imagine how dangerous, like, shaving would be if there was a moral stigma against it and it was illegal to manufacture good blades and you weren't allowed to tell somebody how to do it and a pamphlet. Like, everything becomes horribly dangerous when you enforce stupidity around it.
It's so fucking true,
the
man.
only thing you know about it is the shaving scene from Sweeney Todd, so you're just like, I don't know. It's fast. I know it's fast and hard. That's...
Rubber condoms were all the rage until the discovery of latex in 1920. Young's Rubber Company decided to use this new material in their Trojan line of condoms, and it was a smashing success. First, on the manufacturing side, latex used water to suspend the rubber, not flammable benzene or gasoline, so it made the process much safer. This also let the manufacturers automate the process instead of it being, you know, a hand job.
Cecil, I want to kiss you on the belly. I want to kiss you right on the belly.
Keith has put the kissy face emoji in our notes. Genuinely the greatest violation that's ever taken place on our show.
That might be the only emoji Heath has ever used in his life. I think that it might be the only emoji.
Hand job. I was like, okay. I just want to talk about the Trojan title there. So I know it's called Trojan because they help you come inside safely or something like that, right? But I don't like the idea that there's a ruse happening.
They don't know
the title of my
there's a
sex
penis
thing
in
to have
there.
ruse or trick involved in it.
Fair.
Prefer if that was not there.
Like, latex just worked better. Latex was thinner, so it meant more sensation. They were stronger than the rubber counterparts. Despite being made of latex, they never lost the rubber moniker, resulting in some of us learning that latex wasn't just a different name for rubber at the end of that paragraph just now.
Thank you, Cecil.
Our Catholic Church, of course, hated condoms and still do. They issued an encyclical on contraceptives called Casti Conubili, which is terribly mispronounced in Latin. I'm very sorry. Send your emails to Noah, which means of chaste wedlock in Latin. In the encyclical, they, of course, opposed every contraceptive method, and they never revised this stance up until today.
They have not.
The article talks about how this was also the point in history when they did the first semen analysis, and the church hated both masturbation and contraception. So they collected the sperm in this super tricky way, tricking God. They poked holes in the condom before sex. Thus, they tricked God by not fucking their hand and not using contraception. The Scooby-Doo removal of the hood on this caper is a little messy, though. Just a little messy.
Okay, it's getting everywhere. It's like the spreader from Contra. It's just all over. Can we just use a glove? Wouldn't that accomplish the same loophole as the stupid fucking thing you came up with?
Yeah.
And it's not everywhere?
Yeah. Next time Catholics want to laugh at the Mormons for soaking and bed humping or whatever they're doing now, reminder that you guys went with the pizza place cheese shaker method for a bit.
And the Catholics would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for the diddling kids. Or diddling the kids.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Margaret Sanger, one of the founders of Planned Parenthood and
There she is.
eugenicist, as Heath mentioned in his
That was
essay
sarcastic
a
in
long
case
time
anybody
ago.
wasn't clear about what happened
Heath
earlier, and
did
Cecil
an
didn't keep
essay
thinking
on
where I explained
eugenics,
it.
like episode 9 on eugenics, and he mentioned
Oh,
the
right,
Margaret
that's right.
Sanger.
That was I did a sarcastic essay about that. It was all, that was
very
also sarcastic. Everybody,
Very sarcastic.
Margaret
Sanger.
Read the real thing. She's not really a eugenicist. It was a
Margaret
joke
Sanger,
earlier.
one of the founders of Planned Parenthood, makes an appearance in the story. She tried to order diaphragms from a doctor and they were seized by the post office. She sued the United States. The court found that the government could not interfere with how a doctor provided contraception to a patient. And this led to the opening of 300 birth control clinics in the United States in 1938. These clinics suggested condom use as contraception. With this ruling and with the current Surgeon General at that time pushing condom use, the rates of STDs dropped dramatically in 1940.
Yeah, to be clear, conservatives are against that.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing that the Catholics oppose.
Yes, absolutely.
Stop being Catholic at all.
There you go.
The condom sales were also boosted by the Great Depression because a one-time charge of a condom is better than a lifetime of charges having kids.
Now you tell me.
Rubber condoms came back
Like
into
you're talking
vogue.
to
With talking to a couple of people on the cast. Rubber condoms came back into vogue with the frugal, as they could be reused, quote, a valued feature in hard times, end quote. I see you,
Sure.
clever Wikipedia editor. I see you, hard times.
That's very well done.
Condom
Wanna
production.
kiss that Wikipedia editor on the belly.
Condom production up until that point was not quality controlled. One tester randomly tested 2,000 condoms and found that 60% of them
That's
leaked.
so much percent.
Jesus.
And they're reusing these.
I know,
That's
right?
1,200 leaky condoms
Jesus.
out of their house. Yeah.
The FDA mandated that condoms be quality tested, and they were authorized by the U.S. government in 1940 to seize any defective products. After the first month that this regulation was enacted, the FDA seized 864,000 condoms.
Wow.
God damn.
This led to condom testing and much better quality overall, but the wiki says, quote, American condom manufacturers continue to export their rejects for sale in foreign markets, end quote.
Yeah. Splat's brand of condoms right there. Okay, I feel like I'd be good for that FDA testing team. Like, I enjoy a lab coat and a clipboard being involved. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I like when a beaker is being swished around for no reason
All
or for a
right.
reason, whatever.
Strong
I like
disagree,
glasses.
Heath. I don't need all those metrics. Not a lot of measuring involved in the bedroom. No, thank you. Soft pass. No.
Soft pass on that one. During World War II, the U.S. military distributed condoms to the soldiers and had slogans for condom use on posters and films, but, quote, African-American soldiers who served in segregated units were exposed to less of the condom promotion programs, had lower rates of condom usage, and much higher rates of STDs, end quote. Also, they did not talk about condoms with female units. They relied on abstinence-only training. And at this point, the wiki, there's just this great rabbit hole about how the military found non-sexual uses for government-issued condoms, which they used to like keep explosives dry and such. It's really cool.
I like that the Wikipedia people were like, yeah, we did a little eugenics during the World War, but also one time we used them for funny hats. Write about the hats, Mitchell. Mitchell, write about the hats use. That should be its own section.
After the war, STD rates rose in the population and in the military. Penicillin was an effective treatment for some STDs that led many dudes ditching the condom. The military also changed their sex ed to abstinence only for everyone. Condom sales still grew. In 1965, 42% of Americans used condoms for birth control, despite 30 states outlawing condoms being advertised as birth control. In Britain, around the same time, 60% of married couples use condoms, and it was the most popular method of birth control by single women. In Ireland in 1978, the restrictions on condom sales were lifted.
So about fucking time. I know they probably had they could still do STDs or something, but I love the idea that somebody had to once come up with a non-penis related way to sell condoms. You know? Okay, Trojan brand hot dog baggies, guys. Trojan brand really shitty balloons. Are we allowed to say wink wink on the packaging? How legal?
In the 1980s, the U.S. was being run by a conservative actor who once co-starred with a monkey, so we resorted to abstinence-only education.
Drain the swamp.
It was also around this time that we discovered that HIV and AIDS were sexually transmitted. Much of America, especially the religious, thought that this was a rightful punishment of the wicked. There were still major advertising campaigns at the time in print media promoting condoms as a way to prevent transmission of HIV. Young's Rubber actually mailed unsolicited advertisements to people in the United States, and the post office sued the company, taking the fight to the Supreme Court, where the court sided with the rubber company.
Yeah, the post office is like, look. I know your mailbox is basically just a metal tube you check every few days, exclusively full of pre-recycled junk mail and usurious credit applications, but Jimmy Hat ads, this is abusing our good name.
Right. Condom ads were allowed on
Spread slot decision.
Condom ads were allowed on television in 1991, and they were allowed to be sold in supermarkets around that time. This was also the same year that the first condom store opened in America. Condomania opened on Bleecker Street in New York City. This was also the first company to sell condoms on the internet 4 years later. The store, Condomania, had a fun, upbeat vibe, and the condom advertisements after the AIDS crisis also moved away from the sort of very serious tone to a more humorous one. The world still uses a whole lot of condoms. The number of condoms used each year continues to grow. Quote, one study predicted that developing nations would need 18.6 billion condoms in 2015, end quote.
Wow.
All right. If you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, what would it be?
18 billion condoms covers nearly as many dickheads as we do on our other podcasts.
And are you ready for the quiz?
Let's do this. Let's wrap this thing up.
Oh,
Wrap,
all right,
wrap it up.
Cecil.
I got it.
People throughout
Thank
history
you.
have gone through.
Thank you, only Heath. Thank you, only Heath. Go ahead, Tom.
Cecil, people throughout history have gone through extraordinary lengths to invent ways to not end up pregnant. Why? A, babies have as many as 5 to 10 bowel movements in a day, and yet diapers and the modern practice of diapering wasn't invented, sold, and popularized until the late 1800s.
What?
B,
What did they do?
they wrapped them in linen and just changed them every day or so.
They just squoze
They just
them like
stank.
super soakers and shot them at
fucking
other
stank.
people. They just, like a little
Okay,
bagpipe,
that's
they
a
just shoot it
diaper.
right out the back.
Phil.
Yep, we didn't have those until the late 1800s, my friend.
Swaddle them.
Babies, through their preschool years, get an average of 8 colds a year, each one lasting 7 to 10 days, which means that about 22% of the time, kids' faces are just constantly oozing stuff.
Yeah.
I would say more than 22%, but go
Good
ahead,
times.
continue.
C, kids are gross. Nobody wants.
Secret answer D, all of the above.
Oh,
Please
again,
send
he
your
gets
hate
it.
mail to
Again, he
us about
gets
not
it.
having kids.
There you go.
So happy right now.
Oh, I've got a great one for you, Cecil. Of all the terrible excuses to not wear a condom that men have offered up over the centuries, which is the dumbest? Is it A, prophylactose intolerance?
That's so good.
That is
so
amazing.
good.
Whole reason for the
Oh,
question.
it's so good.
B, latex sounds French. Fuck those guys. C, anything that starts with "I'm rubber, you're glue," or D, whatever dumbass question Eli's about to ask.
How dare you? How dare you?
Oh.
I'm a skeptic.
Oh,
Eli, you have the
call
floor?
forward. Call forward. A, it's prophylactose intolerance. That's fucking genius.
Why, thank
Beautiful.
you, sir.
All right. Cecil, we've talked a lot about the upsides of condoms today, but as a skeptic, we should talk about the very valid downsides to condoms.
Told you.
A, they feel weird. B, does that That awkward moment where you got to fucking unwrap it. And she's just sitting there like she's waiting for a bus. And you're like, there's a lot of packaging. Just give me a second.
It's not.
See,
It's
the thing where you put it on wrong and then you got to flip it over like it's a goddamn USB port.
Okay.
And you,
Okay. That one's valid. That one's
Yeah.
valid.
thank you. They feel
It
weird.
hurts.
And
backed
now the
into a
theme of
corner.
the show.
I'm gonna go with D, but Noah's D. Whatever dumbass question Eli's about to ask.
I win.
All right. Noah, you are the winner.
No.
But we're going to let Eli just, because he helped. We're
I
going to let
win.
him announce the next week's
I-
essayist.
Win, Tom.
You sure do.
Wait. What do I have to do?
Not wear a condom.
So
Check.
Or
Check.
an essay, one or the other. Another kid
I
or
can do
another
both.
essay.
All right. Well, for Tom, Noah, Cecil, and Eli, I'm Heath. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week, and by then, Tom will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can hear Tom and Cecil on cognitive dissonance. You can hear Eli, Noah, and myself on God-Awful Movies, The Scathing Atheist, Skeptocrat, and D&D Minus. And if you'd like to help Eli and Tom with the severe financial consequences of not using a condom, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, listen to past episodes, connect with us on social media, or take a look at the show notes, check out citationpod.com.
All right, gents. Good meeting. Good. Anything else before we wrap up?
Sir, about the male birth control pill.
Now, come on, Johnson. Be serious, man.
No, I was just kidding. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
That this all has to be cut, Cecil, just so you know.
I love that I didn't cut one thing and now everyone tells me what I need to cut. Like I didn't cut one thing and now everybody's got to stop and be like, "Oh, Cecil, I know you've been doing this show for like 250 episodes and nothing has ever entered except for one thing that was literally written into the script." No, but I got to tell you what to cut now. Okay, yeah, sure.
I just
No,
want,
okay.
seriously though, I'm just circling back.
I'm not
Real
cutting
fast.
it. I'm not cutting it. I'm not cutting it. I'm not cutting it.
The whole thing Eli did